My cousin Vinny, the Utes were running out of the store. I didn't laugh when he said that because I come from Brooklyn. That's a common word over there, you know? I think that's it. Everybody else went home.
Okay, we're live.
You got a new piece of equipment?
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting of August the 28th, 2019. Will everyone please stand for a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice of this meeting has been satisfied in accordance with Chapter 231 PL 1975 by advertising in the Home News Tribune, notifying the Sentinel Publishing Company and the Star Ledger, and also posting on the bulletin board and filing with the Borough Clerk. Roll call.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Henry?
Here.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Here.
Mr. Corrigan?
Here.
Mr. Emma?
Here.
Mr. Civilli?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Before we start tonight's meeting, I want it known that the application 19-03 with CVS Kaplan of 267 Washington Road has been canceled. Now, a new date was picked up and agreed to on November the 26th, which is a Tuesday of this year, for this application to be reheard. I have had the opportunity to speak with members of the public in regards to this date, and the board here has discussed further our conversation that I had with some members that were here that wish to speak in regards to this application. At this time, I'm going to turn the conversation over to our attorney, Mr. Carl Kem, and he is going to address you people further in regards to this application concerning CVS.
Good evening, everybody. As the chairman indicated, my name is Carl Kem, the board attorney. So on what we call the CVS application, we received a letter dated August 27 from the applicant's attorney advising that they're unable to attend tonight and in September as well because some of their witnesses that they need to present the application are unavailable. They have asked that it be adjourned to November 26th. As the chairman indicated, we understand that there's a lot of members of the public who are not available that night and have asked if the board would consider a different date. The only constraint we really have is we really can't set a date before November. So the board's next available date, if it's the board's pleasure, would be December 11th. And we would continue the application until then, assuming the applicant's available. They're not here this evening. I will let them know tomorrow that we move them to the 11th. So you might want to keep an eye on the 11th and make sure, because they're still going to have witnesses that aren't available, could get adjourned to January. But understand that that's a tough week for everybody. It was a tough week for me personally as well. So leave it to the board's pleasure if they want to adjourn it to December 11th. How do we just take a ayes and nays?
Board's pleasure to move this application December 11th at 7:30 p.m.
Have to make a motion for this?
No, I think just, is everyone okay with that? Do you mean generally speaking, everyone's nodding their heads yes? Okay. So for the board and for the public, just to make it official. So we are going to continue this application to December 11th at 7:30 in this room. There'll be no further notice in the newspaper or in the mailbox. Come here December 11th, assuming the applicant's available that night, we'll proceed. If not, we'll have another discussion, just like we did tonight, and figure out a new date and time. And I will notify the applicant, and I'll notify the board secretary after I speak to the applicant's attorney tomorrow, if that's a firm date. So,
If it does get moved to January, how are the members of the public going to
well,
follow?
they'll have to come here in December on the 11th and see if we proceed, if there's another request for an adjournment. If there is another request for adjournment for the December 11th, I am going to ask the applicant to be here and have the availability of his professionals with him, you know, copy their diaries. So if we need to set a new date, we can find a date that everyone's available. And also, too, if we adjourn it again in December, hopefully not, but if we do, the board could also require the applicant to send new notice at that point. I think at this point, since the first adjournment they've requested, the normal procedure of this board and other boards I represent and appear before is to continue the notice to the new date. If it's after that, I can see the public's point is, you know, a lot of people are just starting to not come because of the delays, so send a new notice. So we can revisit that in December if needed. So again, everybody, we continue this December 11th, 7:30. And we'll see you then. Thank you for coming out. Apologize, the application wasn't heard, but until the board legally has 120 days to hear the application. So until that time comes, the applicant is entitled to adjourn in the application within reason. So
When's the 120 days up?
that's what the law provides, because
So when is it up?
I don't have it in front of me. I apologize. I wasn't planning on answering. It's when they're deemed complete, and I believe that was sometime in June, if I remember correctly, June or July. So we basically have to January, February to hear the application.
You can resubmit then, right?
Well, we have to make a decision by then. So we can tell the applicant, look, whether you're here or not, we're going to make a decision, or the applicant then can grant us the extension. We can't push them beyond 120, but they can say to us, you know what, we want to have a hearing. Don't make a decision. We'll grant you an extension, we'll hear it in March or February, whatever it may be. So, but again, we lose our power after 120 days. Then we're at their mercy to give us an extension.
So, just to be clear, if they delay or they don't accept the December 11th date, at some point, the window is going to expire, is what you're saying?
Correct.
At which point, the township and the board have no power to,
Well, we would have to hear it, we would have to set a date before the 120 days runs. Let's just say for sake of argument, that's January 15th. So we would set a date, let's say January 10th, and tell them, we're hearing the application January 10th because the board will be out of time and we're not letting you getting away with an automatic approval. So we would set the date, and if they don't come, we make a decision, and then they got to go to
so
court
if
and
they
do
can
it.
make their witness available in January, for example, that's too bad for them?
No, they could on their own extend the deadline. So it's like if you have the deadline and I say, hey, I need another couple days, you can say, no, you're done. Or you could say, you know what, Carl, I'll give you another 10 days, I'll give you another month. So they can give us that extra time. We can't require it.
Excuse me,
Certainly, sir.
you mentioned possibly the application was put in June. 120 days, it's got to expire before December. December might not even be an application.
It would, yeah, like I said, I think it was June or July. We'll have the exact date when we come back in December.
Anytime in June, it's got to expire 6 months is 180 days after December, so.
Yeah.
Maybe before then. So December may not happen then if it expired.
If it's expired, we'll send notices out to everybody letting you know it's November or some other date, or if they agree to extend it to the December 11th date. If it's going to be anything before December 11th, we'll get a notice out to you folks.
You mentioned before also that you can't pick a date before November 24th. Why is that?
Because they're telling us they're not available before then. They're saying the earliest we're available is November 26th.
Okay.
So it kind of constrains us a little bit. But we'll get it worked out and make sure it's a fair date, that it's not going to be, Christmas Eve or something silly like that.
On behalf of the homeowners that came tonight, we appreciate you explaining everything. to
No,
us.
no problem at all.
If
This-
something's down and confused, is there anything on your agenda tonight that we need to know about?
We're adopting a resolution to let somebody put a pool in their backyard.
I don't think we need to know that.
And we're adopting the minutes from last meeting.
So if we love the meeting to go faster for you, and we can go home and eat or something.
Yeah, but
So we understand your concerns with that date in November. And that's why we have discussed it after I got done talking with you people, and it's going to be moved till December 11th.
appreciate that.
And that's going to be the date unless you hear otherwise from us.
So if, just out of curiosity, if that 120 days happens to fall right around November 24th, what happens then?
Well, we're setting it for the 11th, so if we're still within time, as the president noted, we may be bumping up against our 120 days, but assuming it's December 11th is a good, safe date for the board, that'll be our date. If they want to go beyond that, if they say, well, the December 11th doesn't work, my response to them is, well, then give me an extension of time to whatever date you want. If not, we're having a hearing on the 11th. You guys got to be here. So it kind of, either it's we all play nice together or we all kind of start being nasty, which, knowing those folks and knowing their attorney, they probably wouldn't do that. They'd rather give us a little more time and get a hearing and be able to put their presentation on.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
when they postpone the application, there isn't anything that goes on the website to indicate that.
I don't know what the town's policy is on that.
Anything goes on the website to indicate that, or it does?
Changed the agenda.
Okay.
If you go into Sayreville.com and click on event calendar, it gives the monthly calendar for August. And if you click on zoning board on the 28th, the agenda comes up and I had changed it.
Okay.
Let me ask you something. Oh, I'm sorry, Dad.
All right, so if he postpones again, then they'll know.
I will put it, okay, that's how you would find it on the website. If anybody has any questions about how to access it, they can call me in the construction office and I'll walk them through it.
I have a suggestion, though. And when it's something like this, and we know we're gonna have a lot of.
I'm gonna
you
try
put
and get it on the main page.
Right, let it flash.
Yes.
I mean, so, okay,
Okay,
thanks. That'll help them out.
that's my intent, is to put it on the main page, but they can also
See, why
pull
we're
up the
okay
agenda.
tonight? Because when we went on the website, we read it, and we read it wrong. It did say, what Joan said, that there was the adjournment of this part of the CBS meeting. We thought you meant that it's gonna be heard tonight, because it was adjourned from July.
I see.
We read it, we just took it upon ourselves to read it that way, and not saying that it's adjourned tonight, you know. Had it said it's adjourned tonight, scheduled for November, blah, 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 nobody would show up tonight.
I believe that what is really going to happen here, when Mr. Kem talks to their attorney tomorrow, that it is going to be agreeable for December 11th. And we're going to get this thing done on that particular date. So just look for the website. I also have your phone number. I'll give you a call on that, but we believe it's going to be December 11th. We're available. That is a date of the scheduled meetings. Yes?
I just have one question. As the attorney said, they are the one who filed for the extension or the adjournment of this meeting, right? Does that mean that the 120 days start from today's date until then, or when the application was filed? 120 days from there?
It's technically from when it's deemed complete, because you have to fill out certain forms and submit information. So let's say you have to submit 4 forms and only submit 1, well, your application's not complete. So once they have everything to us that we need to have, that date that we say, okay, now we have a complete application, that's the date the 120 days runs. I don't know what the exact date is, but it's not the first hearing, it's not tonight, whenever that was. Okay?
When you say this is gonna be done on December 11th, does that mean you're planning on making a decision that day?
Yes.
It's gonna be
Yes.
so he'll be heard that day?
What is going to happen on the date is that there are 2 witnesses that they have left will testify. We'll ask the pertinent questions in regards to the application. We will open it up to the public where everyone will get an opportunity to speak, after which the board will decide that night, yes or no vote on the application. Okay?
Thank you.
Now, thank you for coming out. Have a good evening.
The next one is gonna be,
All right, make a motion to resolution.
the memorialization. You wanna do that? Sure. Next is the memorialization of resolution.
Mr. Chairman, the resolution is just one. It was the homeowners, Brian and Shona Aubrey, from Jeffrey Court. They were putting a pool in their side yard. They put it up every season. They take it down every season, but they put it up in the same place on a concrete pad. They needed 3 different variances, which the board granted. The resolution contains all the details, the approval, and the normal language for the approval that we put in resolutions, and has been submitted to the board. If there's any questions, certainly answer them. Anyone wants any changes, we'll accommodate that. And I think we can have a motion on the resolution.
Make a motion on a resolution, roll call vote.
Make a motion, second then? You made the motion?
Yeah.
Second.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan? Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Savili? He wasn't here.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
So just abstain.
Abstain.
Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes of July the 24th?
Yes.
If so, pleasure.
Minutes be approved as written.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of July the 24th. Any other comments of anyone from the board? Jim, anything?
Nothing further, Chairman, thank you.
Okay, make a motion for adjournment. Oh, wait, one more thing. Has everyone had the opportunity to look over the Saraville Zoning Board of Adjustment Annual Report of 2018?
Yes.
What's the pleasure of the board concerning this? Is there any changes or corrections that you feel are necessary on this annual report before we take a vote next month in order to send it to the mayor and council?
Mr. Chairman, if I just may briefly, so we did this about this time last year. The board is required to once a year adopt a report of the prior year's applications. And what it does, and Mr. Barry, as usual, did a nice job summarizing the total number we heard. These were homeowners, businesses, and breaking them down. And really the purpose of the report is to look at the applications, reflect on the year, and see if there's anything we would want to suggest to the mayor and council and the planning board to do. So the example I always use is, years ago, you used to see, front yards, you don't want a high fence for seeing, corners and cars. It used to be 3 foot. Well, they changed the standard size to a fence. It's either 4, 6, or 8. People would have to come in, get a variance for a 4-foot fence, or go out and buy a 4 foot and cut off a foot of it and waste material. So, years ago, that was one of the suggestions. I remember one of my boards giving me is we should change it to a 4-foot high fence. And so it's things like that. It's kind of trends you see. If there's anything we want to recommend, and the reason it goes to mayor and council is the mayor and council would draft the ordinance, the planning board reviews it, and then it goes back to council to adopt. So that's why the law has us sending the report to both of those entities. We can just send the report just saying, see attached report, no comment, or we can make comments or recommendations to them. So that's really, I guess what the chairman's question is, one, is there any mistakes in there that John has or things you think he should highlight more? And then 2 is, do we think we have any suggestions we want to make to the mayor and council about ordinance changes? I don't think John had any recommendations in there. It was just more digesting of the applications and variances granted. So again, I think the chairman wants to do a resolution next month, and that's what gets sent. So if you have anything if you don't think of anything off the top of your head now, you have anything, feel free to give me a call. And we can put it in there, we can discuss it, I can draft a resolution for next meeting, and we can always just change it on the fly.
Okay?
Well, in his recommendations, he says there are no meaningful trends or conclusions, so
And
pretty
again,
much status quo.
yeah, I think so. And I personally, I agree with that. But again, that, no offense to John, I've known John a long time, he's a very good planner and he's a straight shooter. I don't see any trends myself either, but you guys may. You may say, you know what, we you know, John and myself have been here, what, 2 years working with you? You guys know the town better, you've lived here, you've been board members in some cases for many years. So you may see a trend in there that's not obvious to John or I, or even Jay. So if you see something you think, don't be hesitant to speak up. John wouldn't take offense to it. Like I said, I've known him a long time, that's not his nature. But again, you know, not pushing you to find something, but if you do, don't hesitate to speak up, is really what I'm trying to say.
So next month, we will finalize that so we can get it to the mayor and council, hopefully for October or November's meeting on 2018. Nothing further, make a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Meeting's adjourned.